Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. The talk is on Thomas, and I have a second reading as the beginning, where the Lord said, "Behold my hands and my feet, that I myself handle me and see, for a spirit does not have flesh and bones, as you see that I have." As I said in the children's talk, can you imagine the excitement with which the 10 disciples told Thomas that the Lord had risen? They had all seen him in the sepulchre, dead, apparently, and now he was alive. Eyes full of wonder, they told him what Jesus had said, how he had looked. And when he doubted, they'd probably have reminded him of the prophecies and how they too had doubted. But Thomas would have none of it. He would believe only on the evidence of his eyes and his touch. The writings for the new church tell us that there were powerful reasons why the Lord chose those 12 disciples. First of all, they were well suited to teach the Christian faith, which they did to spread Christianity. But also, he chose men who represented qualities in each of us. His 12 disciples actually represent the states of all human beings on earth. Therefore, he chose people who were like the particular states that they represented. So what then does Thomas, the one who doubted, what does he represent? He represents people who have a sensuous faith, a faith that's based on physical experience. The story of Thomas underlines the wonder of the Lord's coming to earth. Because of his advent, he can reach down even to such people as the ones represented by Thomas, the kind of people who are so impressed by their own experience that they cannot believe unless their experience testifies to their belief. We even call such people doubting Thomases. Sensuous faith is a show-me kind of faith, insists that the only valid proof comes through the senses, even though the experience of others not even through the experience of the others, but through one's own senses. Note what Thomas said to those 10 people who had seen for themselves. It's not good enough. I must see with my eyes. I must touch with my touch. I must verify the facts, or I will not believe. Now, there are countless people in this and any other generation who are sensuous, and there is that quality in every single person alive. That's why the Lord told this story. Many of the people who have not had the chance to see the Lord, many of these people have not had a chance to see the Lord standing in front of them with the print of the nails in his hand and the wound of the spear in his side. But they want that kind of assurance before they believe, and they doubt. Like Thomas, there are people whose faith is very uncertain. There's something like this, there are some like this who are negative. They say that if they saw a miracle, they would believe. But the fact is that if they saw the miracle, they would find some way to discount it because they don't want to believe. Therefore, the writings tell us that even if they saw the miracle, they would find a way to invalidate it. The writings point to the sons of Israel in the wilderness who saw so many miracles and yet kept on going away from their faith. And Father Abraham said to the rich man about his brothers, if they believe not Moses and the prophets, neither will they believe, though one rose from the dead. Do you remember what the leaders of the Jews did when the guards came and told of the tomb and told how the stone had been rolled away by an angel and how the Lord was not there? They bribed the guards to say his disciples came and stole him away while we slept. They knew a magnificent miracle had happened, but they blotted it out. On the other hand, there are people who are sensuous and they would like to believe, at least they're willing to. They're affirmative. They are his disciples, like Thomas. There are people who live very external lives. They may appear to do many wrong things, but there's something salvable in them. Just as Thomas, they may show their trust in the Lord or their love from him in curious ways. Thomas was given to doubt. He was impressed by earthly attitudes. But he did love the Lord. There is another time in the Gospels that speaks of Thomas. It was just before Jesus went to Jerusalem the last time. The disciples said, lately the Jews sought to stone you, and are you going there again? When it was clear that he would go, Thomas said to the others, let us go also. Let us go also, that we may die with him. You can't get much better than that. Also, when the Lord did show himself to Thomas after that moment of doubt, Thomas stated the most comprehensive acknowledgement of the Lord that is recorded in the Gospels. He said, my Lord and my God. So who are these sensuous people? People who are potentially of the Lord's church and of his heaven, represented by Thomas. A sensuous person is one who lives very much for this world. His delights belong to the here and now. She may be a simple person doing a menial task, or she may be a professor of philosophy, or a rocket scientist, or perhaps a concert pianist. It's not a matter of intelligence, talent, or personal taste. It's a matter of where the person's delight is centered. Are they concerned solely with the things of this world? Do they think of things in terms of temporal ideas rather than eternity? Patrons of the arts can be sensuous. The writings speak about leaders of the church who seem to be ascetics, people who have cast aside worldly delights. But the fact is that they were ambitious, and once they obtained their ambition, they lived more sensuously than others. So let's take an example of a male man, one of moderate means, living in our civilization. He'd be a person of strong feelings, the sensual man, holding strong opinions on most subjects. He would have strong loyalties too. He'd be capable of great warmth, easily touched by those he loved. But his anger might rise quickly to say and do things that would hurt the people who loved him. And then he would regret them, but he'd find it hard not to have that anger burst out again, because he thinks that anger is part of his life. He would tend to form friendships within his own circles and look down on others who were not of his own circle, his own village, or his own religion, race, or nationality, or political party. He would be subject to the mass prejudices, easily swayed by events rather than by quiet logic. One single experience might determine his entire judgment about a single human being. All the other things about that person would be discounted because of the power of the experience that he had personally had. Experience would be his teacher, and he would be loath to relinquish an opinion of his own on the basis of information given him by others. He would work fairly hard at his job, but clearly much prefer his time off. He would be faithful to his wife, but not deny that he was attracted to others. He'd spend time with his children, look after them, but he wouldn't get to know them well or enter easily into their hopes and dreams. There are so many other aspects to a sensuous person, and if we look within ourselves, we will see that there's a part of every one of us that reacts in that way. That's why Thomas was one of the disciples. For we all have a very powerful, sensuous mind. It's part of us. The emphasis is on the temporal, the power of experience or imagination over rational or intelligent thought. The emphasis, too, if this person is willing to be good, is on behavior, duty, external kindness, rather than true internal kindness. If there is love, it is strong, but somewhat unreasoning. The delights that such a person wants are from the earth, and there is a desire to enjoy them to excess. Therefore, there is the danger of being swept away, of giving in to a wrong expression of delight, and then using arguments to justify his behavior. This is a constant danger because the sensuous in him has been perverted, and therefore the hells have a quick entrance into it. So how does a sensuous person resist feelings like this? Well, he has to employ his only guard against evil, and that is his certain faith in the Lord. And that is the problem. His faith is not as certain as he would like it to be. Like Thomas, he doubts. He would like more assurance than he presently has. He would like proof. After all, he's being asked to give up a pleasure which is very strong with him. He wants to be certain that he must do it. In the new church, this doubt may be manifested itself as a wish that we were absolutely certain that the writings are a divine revelation. If only there could be some miracle that would prove to us that they are, then we would be safe in obeying them to the letter, especially when they tell us not to do certain things. Wouldn't it be nice if the Lord came down from heaven into this church and stood right in front of us and said, Swedenborg wrote the things I told him. These are my books. And yet we know in our hearts that the Lord would not do that because it would affect our precious freedom. The message of Easter morning is that the Lord can speak to such people and get their attention. By means of his glorified human, he can get their attention. It is true that their concentration on sensuous feelings makes them stand in great danger of rejecting it eventually. But it's true that viewed from the strict law of proof, and it is true that viewed from the strict law of truth, they've probably done many more bad things than good things. But since Easter morning, the Lord can be present even with them, with the Thomases of the world. Lowly in thought and feeling, earthbound they may be, but he can say to them, reach your finger here and see my hands, and reach your hand here and thrust it into my side. This is an invitation and a promise to people who are sensuous. The miracle of the Lord's glorification is a complicated one, but what we can know is the Lord came on earth to reach every single person that was born. Every single person he could be reached. Here on earth, he came on earth because from his advent they could be reached. Sensuous people would certainly have gone to hell without his coming, but he established a means whereby he could reach them. He came to serve and to save every single human being if they would let him. He knew there were countless peoples in every generation who were in great danger of doubting him and denying him. So he found a way to make the truths of the Old Testament and the New Testament and the writings of Swedenborg so powerful and so present in our life that it touches our sensuous states. Here are some of the teachings that reach sensuous people. The Ten Commandments, of course, are dramatically powerful statements which the simplest mind can immediately accept. Of course we can see that we should not kill and so on, but we hear them as the Lord's commandment. The picture of the Lord on earth, an imaginative picture, a beautiful set of stories, are so powerful that they touch the hearts of even sensuous people. The direct, strong teachings of the writings are powerful in the same way. For example, all the stories about heaven and the life after death, they touch our feelings. So we're told that today hordes of people are pouring into the lowest part of the lowest heaven. They were the sensual who've been saved by the Lord's coming to earth. That's why he gave that more universal invitation to all people. Handle me and see. For a spirit does not have flesh and bones, as you see me have. Handle me and see. This is an invitation to conjunction with the Lord. His divine love was shown on earth, and that was his flesh. Powerful truth was revealed, and these are representatively his bones. We need to know that there is this sensual streak in all of us. The story is not speaking about some other people. It's also speaking of us. We all have the tendency to trust our own experience and deny the testimony of thousands because we want to trust just what we have seen. If we happen to be clever, we then use deep, rational arguments to support our stand. And we seem to be clear, insightful human beings. But the real question is, what is the origin of your decision? What is the basis upon which your faith is formed? You see, the Lord can speak to the sensuous states in us. But there is one very important warning. Sensuous faith is not enough to get us to heaven. By itself it will not work because it remains so tied to earth and the hells are so powerful. Therefore the Lord rebuked Thomas and said, Thomas, because you have seen, you have believed. Blessed, those are blessed who have not seen and yet have believed. And we know that that's what Thomas did. If we are ever going to receive the joy of heaven, we have to be lifted a little bit above the sensuous. We have to see with some insight that the teachings of the Lord are true. The reason is that faith comes to us from within when we want to follow the Lord. It's a gift from above The Lord flows into our hearts and minds. But here is the amazing point. Jesus came to Thomas. He showed them his hands and his side. The Lord gets the attention of sensuous people. But then Jesus said to him, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." In other words, now, Thomas, I have your attention. Are you willing to be lifted up, even if you cannot see? So Thomas was not condemned for his unbelief. The Lord reached out to him. But it was shown that there was one step needed, and Thomas took it. On Easter morning and the following days, let us remember the story of the doubting Thomas and what he represents in each one of us. Let us be so grateful that the Lord in his infinite mercy reaches down even to this lowest plane of life and can gain our attention there. Then he can invite us to be lifted up and see with the eyes of faith, even as he promised. And if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. Amen.